Who goes? That's right, we go too. All right, you've met me, you've met your driver. I have one more person to help us kick off the studio tour, and that is the host of The Tonight Show, Mr. Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, hey there. You made it. Welcome to the Universal Studio Tour. I'm Jimmy Fallon. I'll be making sure that you get through this experience in one piece. You've got the very best guide.
Michelle.
And the greatest driver.
Michael.
They're the best. I love them. Even though
Michelle
owed me $5.
Oh.
I know you guys are excited to get on the tour, but first, a few safety rules.
All right, I'll Venmo you, Jimmy. Now, before we get too far, I do have some safety rules to make sure we all get back to the theme park in one piece. So first, if you need guest assistance, if you have a medical emergency, drop something of value off the side of the tram, have any sound or video issues, reach out, grab that red emergency cord that runs along the center of the ceiling of the tram. We'll stop the tram and I will be back to assist you when it's safe for me to do so, but otherwise do remain seated at all times. The studio is private property, so if at any time you drop your phone, can't wait to use the restroom, pull that cord and remain seated. Please no smoking of any kind on the tour today, and be prepared. Our tour features loud noises, fire effects, water effects, and many sudden trail movements, so be sure to hang on and hang on to your belongings so they don't get dropped or wet. And finally, for your safety and those around you, please refrain from using selfie sticks while on board. But if you do see any of our firefighters today up in the theme park or down in the studio lot, give them a wave and a thanks for keeping us all safe. Now, coming up on stage, it was built back in 1928, so because it's our largest and because it is almost 100 years old, it of course has housed so many iconic sets over the years, including some of those classic Universal monstrosities like Dracula, Frankenstein. Back to the Future is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. They put some uniforms, they're often actors. Not here at 51, they are real firefighters, because not only is Universal a real movie studio, it's also a real city with its own zip code. So we do have some of our own emergency personnel. It's always a fun treat when the garage doors are rolled up and we can see inside. But if you do see any of our firefighters today up in the theme park or down in the studio lot, give them a wave and a thanks for keeping us all safe. Now, coming up on your left as we make this next bend is Sound Stage 12. You'll know which one it is because it's got a big 12 painted off the side. That's alright. This is our largest soundstage and it was built back in 1928. So, because it's our largest and because it is almost 100 years old, it of course has housed so many iconic sets over the years, including some of those classic Universal monstrosities like Dracula, Frankenstein. Back to the Future is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. They filmed some scenes from that movie in Stage 12 as well. But speaking of the number 12, I promise that you'll never find another like me. Taylor Swift filmed her new music video right over there in Stage 12.
Daddy, ako na. Hold Daddy. Daddy's gonna hear for you.
Those are just a few more examples of Stage 12 over its history. That last image gives you a great example of what our sound stages look like on as elephant doors, because they're large enough for an elephant to fit through. Yeah, we haven't always had CGI animals here in Hollywood, but about a month ago there was a real giraffe on the studio lot, which was super cool to see. But folks, now we're in our front lot, probably best known for its television history. To our left, though, we are going by Stage 14. That has its own unique history. That's where they filmed that scene where the Jeep was dangling from the tree in Jurassic Park. It had the mission control set from Apollo 13 starring Tom Hanks, but most recently, Soundstage 14 has been home to the show Bel Air, which just finished filming its 4th season, and that will be on Peacock this fall. Now, like I said, our front lot is probably best known for its television history, along with Bel Air. If you're a fan of the show Superstore, starring America Ferrera, that filmed here in our front lots as well. Based on a true story, which starred Kaylee Cuoco, filmed here too. A new show called The Paper is coming to Peacock in September. That stars Donald Gleason and films here in our front lot sound stages. And also an Apple TV show called Loop, which stars Maya Rudolph, that films here as well. Now, another thing you might notice as we drive through our home studio is that a lot of our streets are named after different Hollywood stars and icons. If they have a street here, they are named after, it's named there because they did something important in NBC Universal history. For example, by Stage 16, we passed Nat King Cole Avenue. He has a street here named after him because in 1956, he hosted the Nat King Cole Show on NBC. Now, folks, Ted the teddy bear there was toasting us with a nice frosty cold one. He welcomes us to the bungalow section of of our front lot, which currently are used as offices.
Hey there, Studio Tour. I'm Jared Butler.
I'm Mason Thames.
And I'm Nico Parker.
You know, these bungalows to your left are actually production offices.
Home to some of Hollywood's biggest filmmakers, including Mark Platt, one of the producers of our new live-action movie, How to Train a Dragon.
Everyone wave. You might be there right now.
And if you haven't already, be sure to meet the iconic and beloved Toothless over in the closet.
And see our movie only in theaters now.
But in the meantime, here's a sneak peek.
Everything we know about dragons is wrong.
All right, bud, you ready? How to Train Your Dragon, rated PG, in theaters now.
Mark Platt Productions have also been in our bungalows working hard on the Wicked films. Part 1 came out last year, and Part 2, Wicked for Good, comes out in November. So that, of course, stars Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. Now we've made it to some more sound stages here to your left. These are 25 and 26, and they look a little different with these windows. They're newer. They were first used in 2016 for Hairspray Live. That also starred Ariana Grande alongside Dove Cameron, Martin Short. But currently, Soundstage 25, or 26 rather, is home to a show called St. Dennis Medical.
Ate what?
Oh, I love a good buzzword. A Coachella type vibe. St. Dennis Regional Medical. St. Dennis Regional Medical.
That woman's on.
She's just quirky. Louder! St. Dennis Regional Medical. The rhythm is gonna get you, and it got me.
St. Dennis Medical. All episodes streaming now. Watch NBC on Peacock.
That stars Wendy McClendon-Covey from the 2011 film Bridesmaids alongside David Allen Greer. Now, folks, we are leaving our front lot and we're headed into our back lot. The first thing that we get to see in our back lot are our metro sets. Welcome to our large city metro streets here. Now, this red brick facade over to your right, that is also part of St. Dennis Medical. It's currently dressed up as an emergency center. But folks, right now, our tram is driving down a very special street. In fact, this is the very road that a very famous time machine made it up to 88 miles per hour. Way to go, Michael. All right, but as we make this next turn, we're headed into a special part of our larger metro sets. This is what we call Courthouse Square, but it's probably best known and most frequently called the Clock Tower and parts of Hill Valley from Back to the Future. Of course, those are not the only things that have filmed here. For my musical theater fans, this is where Conrad Birdie said farewell to the townsfolk in Bye Bye Birdie, we're starring Anne Margaret. Also, one of our Academy Award-winning films, To Kill a Mockingbird, which was based on the Harper Lee novel, that got some exterior shots of their courthouse scenes here as well.
Abos online din.
Just saw the other side of it, you had a great view, but as your car goes by, I want to shout it out again, because it might look familiar in this next video.
Grace the dog! I'm in the shower! Inside bad, outside good. Inside bad, outside good. Oh, you're done now. Great. BEA Beautiful.
Our BEA Beautiful Metro sets have been used for countless projects. That, of course, was Bruce Almighty, starring Jim Carrey. If you're a fan of the show American Ninja Warrior, they film here in our city streets as well. When they do, they will typically set up their courses in our metro area and film overnight. But folks, we've had a nice, calm, relaxing drive through our front lot and our larger metro area. Things are about to get a little bit bumpy, though. We are now headed in to Skull Island.
The Universal Tram is winding a sequel, a mini continuation. We are just taking the Kong and Skull Island and the dinosaurs that we established in our feature film, and this is another day, another incident on Skull Island, using the creatures and the character and personality of Kong as he appeared in the movie.
All right, brave adventurers, before we get too far, please remember, remain seated at all times. Keep your arms and legs inside, hang on to your belongings, hang on to yourselves, of course, and have those 3D glasses ready to go. Welcome to Skull Island.
Oh no, what's that?
Congratulations, you just survived King Kong 360.
Tuwang-tuwa si May.
Yeah, bravest tram on Street. You can see our brownstone street there to your left, if you didn't get a good look the first time. Now just looking at the courtyard area here with the gazebo, the flowers, it's all dressed up. This is left from an exterior set from Ted Danson's newer show called A Man on the Inside. As we head to the end area of our metro sets, though, I want to direct your attention to your right. We're going to be passing by a mural of some of our classic Universal monsters. Now, this was done by artist Tristan Eaton. This video gives you a little example of how it came to be, but he did it completely out of spray paint. I think it's so cool. It's got the Wolfman, the Mailman, Frankenstein's monster, his beautiful bride, of course, and Dracula.
You're happy?
The Bride of Frankenstein is celebrating its 90th anniversary this year. However, if you do want something a little more modern than 90 years ago, over to your left, you might recognize the red V logo on the side of stages 30 and 31. That, of course, would be home to The Voice. And right next to that there, across the water, are stages 32 and 33, and those are home to Poppy's Place, which is Reba McEntire's other show. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to meet the Bride of Frankenstein in the park today. I hope so. She's one of my favorites. I have a feeling she would love to be on The Voice. I don't know that The Voice would love to put her on, but that's another problem for another monster on another day. Now, speaking of horror, if you love Jordan Peele like I do, the street we're on right now was featured at the beginning of the film Nope. This is the street where that horse trailer drove away after filming the commercial at the beginning of the movie. This body of water, by the way, it's called the Hollywood Ocean. The creature from the Black Lagoon got some shots here. Some shots of a sneak park down in Florida. Production stitched those together, and that is what made the on-screen location of that film that was set to resemble the Amazon rainforest. The creature from the Black Lagoon celebrated its 70th anniversary last year. Its sequel, The Creature Returns, has its 70th anniversary this year. Now get this, they filmed The Creature from the Black Lagoon in black and white 3D. Color was expensive, 3D was expensive, so the studio said, let's just cut that cost right down the middle, and it probably made for a very, very unique viewing experience back in 1954. Now, I just got to tell you a little bit about some spooky bodies of water with monsters in them.
These were made on film lots. Today they're made all over the world, on locations, but most of it was focused in those days, in the 60s, on film lots. So nobody noticed me when I was going around from soundstage to soundstage, and I really felt, in my own young way, I owned the lot and had the most amazing day of my life.
Nico Short? Nico Short?
Oh, I see George's boat. Where's George? Something's a little fishy. Oh, there's George. Hi, we're over here. Don't worry, folks. George is very, very brave. He always shows us he's got a lot of guts. I think we're gonna need a bigger shark. That was Bruce. He's our mechanical shark. Our series attraction. And our Bruce was named after Bruce the mechanical shark. He's been filming Jaws out on location in Martha's Vineyard. And that Bruce was named after Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce, who is still Spielberg's lawyer to this day. The man, of course, not the mechanical sharks. However, our Bruce does something the others don't. He swims backwards. Look at him go. Wow. Now, does anybody have a guess as to why that fire was so hot? It was real. Yeah, the fire, the water, even that shark effect, they were all right there in front of your eyes. They were not effects added in during post-production with computers. We're going to see another display now of practical effects. This time it's more in the sense of weather. Now, our tour began on July 15th, 1964, and this attraction joined the tour in 1968. So this is classic, but it's still part of our studio tour and our studio lot today. And regardless of what the weather is like here in beautiful Los Angeles, this is the place I can guarantee will always be stormy. You might recognize this part of our studio from Lady Gaga's Judah Us music video, or maybe from the film Big Fat Liar, starring Paul Giamatti, and Amanda Bynes. Shout out millennials. Now, there are many purposes that a filmmaker might manufacture weather for their project, but part of the reason they go through the trouble of making weather from scratch is because it's very fundamental storytelling. So, you're for example. Oh, okay, hold on. This is very hang on. I'm just kidding. That happens about 1,000 times every single day. For those of you wondering, that water does get recycled. Goes to the top of the hill and comes down. Continuous making magic, but as we leave our flash flood, we're now headed into 6 points. Or I'm sorry, first we are in Old Mexico. This was used in movies like Jack Black's National Beehive, Paramount, and filmed some episodes from Star Trek Picard here as well. So now we're going into 6 Points. This is our western town. It's called 6 Points because back in the early days of the studio, there were 6 streets where 6 different productions could all film simultaneously because, that's right, they were silent films. It didn't matter how loud each one was being. This stable here to your right was used in My Little Chickadee, starring Mae West. The Opera House over to your left, that was featured in Quentin Tarantino's film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's where young actor Julia Butters sat and comforted Leonardo DiCaprio. But now I want to draw your attention to these hotel lobby doors over to your right. They're these white French doors with the blue and white curtains, and they look the same, but they're different heights and sizes. So what is the deal with that? That is a movie-making trick that dates back to those silent film days, and it uses perspective to the camera's advantage. So, the way it worked, for example, they might have an actor portraying the bad guy. They would put him in front of that smaller door, and that would make him appear larger, scarier, more burly. And the same is true of his co-stars. Maybe there was someone who needed to look a little more likely to be tied up on some railroad tracks, for example. They might put them in front of that tall door that would make them appear smaller. Maybe more in need of rescue, more mindful, more demure. However, on screen, all 3 of those doors look like the exact same one, which is a little bit of how that trick worked. Disney has filmed here in our 6 Points sets before. They used our Western sets for parts of their film, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
What is the bad place like?
Well, it doesn't sound awesome.
Because at 7
One of my fans of that show, have your cameras ready as we drive through Little Europe. We will be passing by the railway station. But hey folks, welcome to Little Europe. That's a very generic name, but that's because productions can make it more specific depending on what they need. You put the right language on the walls, the right set decorations, you can make this any location, any time period, real or made up, just like much of the other parts of our back lot. Now, currently, Little Europe has a very sweet sort of storybook vibe to it. It's got the flowers, the pastels, the curtains. Now, it didn't always look this way. Its current look lends itself to more modern projects like The Good Place, but when we were doing those classic monster films, Little Europe had a darker, more of a gothic sort of Bavarian feel to it. In fact, this area we're driving through right now is known as the Port of Miracles. This is where they would film the scenes where all of the townsfolk would get together with their pitchforks and their torches, and they'd all be off to hunt down the monster terrorizing their town. Disney has filmed here in Little Europe as well. They made it into parts of Port Royale and Curse of the Black Pearl. They had the Princess Parade here in Princess Diaries 2, A Royal Engagement. And my personal favorite, they filmed some dancing scenes from Disney's version of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, which starred Brandy and Whitney Houston, of course. Arguably, though, the most important thing in Universal history, any set always just a slight California tremor. Hang on. attraction actually Mini Island again to get to the rest of our backlot when we go by this time. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Spielberg to tell you about the Jaws attraction.
The Jaws ride was almost the inevitable result of the size of the box office with Jaws.
The Chicken Ranch was used in Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses, as well as Dolly Parton's movie musical from the 80s, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. But that street opening over to your left, that's what we call Colonial Street. It might look like the entrance to the Stereo Lane, possibly reflected in the camera. If you're ready to rubble, you can take Bernie Rubble's car out for a walk from the Flintstones. And of course, we also have some vehicles from the Fast and Furious and Transformers franchises. It's the very first film to show a flushing toilet on screen. Yeah, a little movie trivia for you there, folks. However, that is the only potty humor I have as part of my tour for you today. Now, as we head up this hill here, I have explained we are a real working studio. Sometimes our routes get redirected because of active filming. I sometimes am able to ask the nice folks who live here for some directions. Now, Mother usually sits up in the top window. If you see her up there, you know, give her a wave. She rocks.
Oh, Papa, you better.
Kami lalabas niya. Ito yung may ano. Ito na yung may ano. Parang ano mo yan.
You might have noticed that house looked a lot smaller up close than it did at the bottom of the hill. That's that perspective trick in works again. The house is built on a 3/4 scale, so it quite literally is smaller. Now, folks, you got to see a nice little neighborhood area a couple moments ago. This one has seen better days. Welcome to Steven Spielberg's set from his Paramount film, War of the Worlds.
was perfect example of the set. All of this vision of Steve. Who said to sit down and talk about war. I thought it was right in a big neighborhood. Because it's just something you don't see.
Feel good. You can that's me. That's how much you push it. Now close it. Robbie, get in. Get in.
War of the Worlds starred Dakota Fanning and Tom Cruise. For those of you curious, yes, that is a real 747. In fact, its age is slightly obvious if you look closely at the rows. You'll see some ashtrays in there. It was already decommissioned when production purchased it. And it came from a plane graveyard, that's what they call it, up in the Mojave Desert. So that plane was torn apart for a couple reasons. It had to, of course, fit the disaster story element of the film, but also it had to fit on the back of truck beds under all those freeway overpasses, down the 14, the 5, whatever the roads they needed to take to get it to its filming location. Now, folks, I'm excited to welcome you to the real set of Jupiter's Claim from Jordan Peele's film, Nope.
Movie magic only happens when a team of collaborators, often in the hundreds, work together to take an impossible notion and bring it to life. This is Jupiter's Claim, a nostalgic, small-time Southern California amusement park owned by former child star Ricky Jude Park. Over there, look into the winking well and have your picture taken just like the kids in that old 90s movie Kid Show. That's what this whole place is loosely based on. Remember that one? No? But a little further down, you can see the brand new Star Lasso experience. Built to showcase an unbelievable live show. It's not looking so live. Welcome to the world of Movie.
Get out. Now, similar to weather, sound design is also a very instrumental storytelling tool, and that is especially true in the horror genre. That's a super clever way for the production team of Nope to showcase some of those sound design choices they made for that horror film as we get to see the real set from the movie. Now, we are on our way back to the theme park. We've got a couple turns, and then we will be